Hey everyone, it is Brady from Tabletop, and me and Joshua are bringing you a couple more recommendations in regards to classic or older games that you might like. So this week we are bringing you recommendations for if you like Clue or the game Sorry. So I'm going to give you recommendations for if you like the game Clue. So if you like Clue, that means you like throwback games, you like things relatively simple, you like a mystery, a little bit of a puzzle to solve, and you like to race against the clock to be the first one to solve said mystery against your friends and stuff. So with that, two games for you. The first one is called Mr. Jack. So Mr. Jack, the thing about Mr. Jack is, first of all, it is a two-player game. So just two of you will be playing this. You are in Whitechapel. The year is 1888. One of you is playing as a detective, and the other person is playing as Mr. Jack, a criminal, but also totally Jack the Ripper, the serial killer. What you're doing is you have a bunch of little characters out on this board, kind of all these different little kind of people, and any one of them could be Mr. Jack. You don't know, the detective at the beginning of the game doesn't know who Mr. Jack is, but Mr. Jack is one of these pieces out here, and the other player knows it. What you're trying to do if you're Mr. Jack is every turn we get to move some of these little characters around, and if you're Mr. Jack, you're trying to move Mr. Jack off of the board and run away. And if you are the detective, you're trying to move one of these people onto Mr. Jack and then be like, is that Mr. Jack? And find out that it's true. But again, everybody's moving the characters and the detective doesn't know which one Mr. Jack is. Every turn, you draw some of these cards of the different characters, and if I pick, the brown guy, well, I get to move the brown guy. Well, then, Mr. Jack goes, he picks the orange guy, he gets to move the orange guy. And I don't know if he's moving the orange guy to trick me or if that's Mr. Jack, and so on. At the end of every round, we are going to declare if Mr. Jack or Jack is beside one of these lampposts. So if he is beside one of the lampposts, we'll say there was a witness, somebody saw Mr. Jack. But if he's not beside the one of these lamps, he's kind of off here, wherever, then we say he has not been seen. And regardless of whether he's been seen or not, every round you're getting a little bit information, you're getting a little bit closer to solving the puzzle. It's really good. Every little character has a little special ability it can do. Maybe it can swap with another person. Maybe it can move these police barricades around to stop Mr. Jack from escaping. But it's simple, it's a lot of fun. It plays in about 30 minutes. So Mr. Jack, super cool, very, very simple, good time. The other one I wanted to talk to you about is a game which made my kind of favorite list recently, which is Paranormal Detectives. Paranormal Detectives is basically a combination of Clue and charades or Pictionary. If you played Cranium from the 90s, it's basically like Cranium smashed with Clue. One of you is playing as a ghost, and that ghost has a card, and the card tells them who, what, how, where they died. It has a little story about how they died, and they have all this information. Everyone else who are detectives, paranormal detectives, who are trying to figure out how the person died, they have no context. They have nothing except maybe they know the wound that was on the body. So maybe at the beginning of the game, if I'm a detective, I know that the victim had a head wound, or they were in a fancy dress, something like that. Not a lot of information, but that's all you get. So what you do then is, if you're a detective, on your turn, you are going to go ahead and you are going to ask the ghost any question you want, any type of question, because your goal is to figure out the who, what, where, when, how, the weapon, and all those things. And if you do that, if you figure out all the stuff, you and the ghost win. So the way you're going to do that is, on your turn, you ask the ghost a question, any question you want, and then you pick from your hand of cards the way you want the ghost to go ahead and answer that question. So maybe I go ahead and I say, ghost, how did you get murdered? All right, and I say I would like to play the talking board, and then the talking board means the ghost has to use this fun little Ouija board to answer the question. Or maybe the next person takes their turn and they say, okay, ghost, what was the murder weapon? And they play tarot card, which means the ghost takes these kind of cool, crazy-looking little tarot cards and he gets to play 3 of them down on the ground, hopefully communicating how they died. There's one where you can say, okay, ghost, what was the murder weapon, or whatever your question is, and they have to make them out of these little wires. My favorite is the ghost. You can ask the ghost any question, and then the ghost has to take your hand and put their hand on top and draw whatever the answer is with this little dry erase marker. It's really fun. It's really silly, but also thinky at the same time. My favorite thing is, again, when you start the game, the detectives have no context. So, as you see these clues, and the ghosts kind of do these things, you interpret it any way you want to, which means you can kind of have wildly different ideas of what is happening in the story. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. It's very silly. Again, plays in about 30 minutes, so I would definitely check that one out as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Joshua for Sorry, okay? Cool.
Hey everybody, Joshua from Tabletop Board Game Cafe in Cleveland, Ohio, here today to talk to you about some game recommendations. And specifically what I want to talk to you about is if you like Sorry. Sorry's a great game from when you were a kid. Probably played it a bunch. I know I played it a lot with my brothers, my friends growing up. And it's a game where you're moving along the board in a race to get all your pieces around the board. But also it's a game about knocking other players' pieces back to their home base or their start space, and the satisfaction that comes from really messing up your friends. So I'm going to show you a couple of games that are great for a family or a wide variety of ages that if you like Sorry, you can try. The first one I want to show you is this little box called Deep Sea Adventure. In Deep Sea Adventure, you're going to roll some dice. You're going to roll these cute little wooden dice, and you're going to move your little diver along a path. The path you're moving along are these little spots. They're laid out on the table, and they've got treasure underneath. And as you move your diver, you're collecting the treasure. And the thing is about this game is you're all undersea explorers, but you're all sharing the same submarine, and it's got a supply of oxygen. Each turn, that's going to be depleted a little bit, so you're going to try to go dive deeper and deeper and collect as much treasure as you can. But at some point, you've got to turn around and head back. Because if you end up running out of oxygen, you've got to drop all the treasure you've got to the bottom of the ocean and head back with nothing, empty-handed. And after 3 dives, you'll count up which player has the most points worth of treasure. That player wins. It's a lot of fun. It's a press your luck game where you're really trying to get as far as you can without messing yourself up and kind of egging your friends on to get them to go further so that they'll mess up. It's a little box, compact. You can toss it in your bag or even in your pocket. And the next game I want to talk to you about is called Trekking the National Parks, a great family game. It's also educational. So you've got all the national parks in the United States all on the board, and you're moving your little hiker around to various parks, and you're playing cards from your hand that have a number on them and moving your hiker that many spaces. Or when you get to a park, you're discarding cards of the suits shown to claim that card, and it's worth points. But maybe somebody else you think is heading towards the same park as you. If you can land on the space that they're on, you kick them right back to that start space, and that'll help you get there faster. And when one player has collected 5 of these park cards, the game's over, and they'll count up your points. Whoever has the most wins. So it's got that little cutthroat action of being able to bump people back to start, and it's quite a fast-paced race, while also being really easy to learn. A lot of good options, things to think about, choices to make that are interesting choices, while being really accessible for a wide variety of ages. You can play it with a family, which Sorry, of course, is a fantastic family game, fantastic kids game. So, Trekking the National Parks and Deep Sea Adventure. If you like Sorry, check these out. You might dig them. So thank you very much for watching. If there's a game you'd like us to do specifically, go ahead and drop a note in the comments. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. Also check us out at patreon.com/tabletopcleve, where we're making podcasts. We're making some weekly online game nights while the cafe is closed for social distancing. Check us out, support us there, and thank you again for watching. See you soon.